The BVI Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association hosted a debate on Thursday evening at the HLSCC Eileen Parsons Auditorium, where candidates from the 5 political parties responded to questions about critical issues facing the business community as well as the territory. JTV News' Walter Barrett brings us this report.
The BVI Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association held its second stakeholder forum on Thursday evening, where 5 representatives from the 5 political parties vying for this year's election met to debate various issues affecting the Virgin Islands. The representatives were Honorable Dancia Penn-Sala for the ruling Virgin Islands Party, Dr. Orlando Smith, leader of the National Democratic Party, Conrad Maduro of the United Party, Natalia Wheatley of the People's Patriotic Alliance, and Alan Wheatley, leader of the Party for the People. Speaking to the question of how the parties would go about reducing the operational cost of government, the representatives all agreed that cost-cutting measures have to be put in place, a move which Honorable Penn-Sala said the ruling VIP government has already embarked upon. A couple of the representatives even went as far as to disagree with government's recent decision to give its ministers a raise.
I think we need to review some of the allowances and salaries. That we need to review those, because the legislators gave themselves a raise a few years ago, and I think perhaps to show an example to the community, that's not something that should have been done at that particular time. Perhaps maybe when the country was doing better, give everyone a raise, at that particular point.
If you had a more automated system inside the government, you would need half the people you have inside there, because it's a far more efficient way to do it. Put in a carpool. You want a vehicle, go down by the carpool and justify why you need it. I see some luxury vehicles up and down driving all over the place, park all over the place. I can't decipher what is going on with government, to be honest with you.
The emphasis has to be on getting more value for money and on cutting costs. And yes, the public sector has definitely operated at too high an expenditure compared to other sectors in the economy. And cutting the expenditures is being done and is a necessary and correct thing to do.
We certainly do have a problem when it comes to expenditure in government, and we need to introduce more cost measures. I know that the previous government and those before have put some cost-cutting measures in, but we need to do much more. It is common knowledge that government spends too much money, and we need to cut the waste. And the saying is that any project the government does costs twice as much as it should cost. And this seems to happen too often. And so, as a government, we have to look at ways and means to be able to manage projects more effectively so we can cut the cost and therefore have money to do other things.
Government, has wasted and is wasting a lot of money. You don't have to look far to find that out. Look right across there, these things what they call greenhouses out there. Millions of dollars. That could have been saved. Yeah? Imagine our government going to be giving the ministers cars costing over $80,000 and all these kind of things. They're burning gasoline like you drink water and things like this. All of these things, government can save money on.
Another area that generated much discussion was that of the airlift situation, where each of the representatives agreed that the current runway at the Beef Island International Airport needs to be lengthened.
Obviously, to deal with airlift, as has been discussed in previous scenarios, really focus on getting an expanded runway capacity to be able to take bigger airplanes subject to mutual agreements and the like.
I certainly do believe that it would be necessary, as you pointed out, to extend the airport runway. But you did say it's going to take about 4 or 5 years, and what must be done in the meantime?
I've heard overwhelming consensus in the community for extending the runway. And one way that I heard actually from the Chamber of Commerce in terms of how it could be financed is the cost from going from Miami to Puerto Rico would roughly be the same cost from Miami to Beef Island. Right now we're paying that extra cost between Beef Island and Puerto Rico, which it says roughly about $200. If we establish flights from Miami to Beef Island and add on that $200 cost per ticket, that $200 per cost could be used to help finance the airport expansion.
It is a matter that I think needs far more study, far more discussion, and we have to be very careful that because it is a view expressed by some, that the government does not jump, whoever the government is, does not jump to a huge expense and cost which will be involved in extending the runway to provide more airlift, when in fact it may not necessarily be the optimum thing to do in terms of cost.
The debate also afforded the parties the opportunity to share their views on several other issues, such as the visitor's experience and its relation to return value, motivating the youth to turn away from crime, and the removal of custom duties, all of which allowed the audience an even more up-close and personal look at the candidates, and more importantly, the philosophies of each of the 5 parties that will be seeking their vote come November 7th. This is Walter Barrett for JTV News.